There we go. How are you guys enjoying like Anaheim and the area of training out there?
Yeah, I like it. Anaheim has got like ever since I joined the national team, it's gotten a lot more things to do around it. Like the packing house is pretty close. A lot of things to do.
Yeah.
But this location in general is pretty good. Like it's only 30, 40 minutes to LA and like the LA beaches. It's like 20 minutes to the beach in Huntington, Newport. So I don't know, a good like central spot, I guess. I
How's
like it a lot.
how's quarantine life treating you?
It's treating me. No, it's good. It's good. It's like, I don't know. Like as an athlete, you're always like go, go, go. So like I've never had this time to just kind of relax, I guess. So
Yeah.
it's different, but I'm starting to get used to it a little, almost too used to it. I like need to keep myself on it a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, what am I going to do with myself when things go back to, semi-normal or whatever normal looks like. So
That brings me like really high anxiety. I'm not even gonna lie. Like
yeah.
the thought of
When's
like
the last, go ahead.
no, just like the thought of having like a full practice,
Yeah,
lunch,
that's what I was going to ask.
meeting, that stuff, like just a full day of stuff freaks me out a little.
Yeah. Do you have any idea when that is going to be? Like when, let's just say you had to guess where you guys were able to go back, be together on the court. When do you think that is? How much more time?
They have had a ton of conversations about what that looks like bringing people back and like have been keeping us in the loop. But I feel like every date they've thrown out so far has already, back in March, it was like, okay, April 1st, and then it was April 9th, May 1st, May 15th. Now it's like, who knows, And then I
Yeah.
think like we've recently had conversations about like when we do get back in the gym, it's not going to be the same. It's going to be a lot of small groups and like I think groups of 4, and then on the court just one at a time. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so even when we do get like the okay, I think they're going to give it some time to, I don't know, till it gets like completely safe for them to hold like an actual practice. So
Right.
I am not holding my breath, but I don't know. I'm excited to see everyone. Like I feel like that's the biggest thing. I miss it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you do. Man, that's crazy. Well, at least they postponed the Olympics, which to me was just unfathomable. I can't, it literally would have took something like this to have done that. So, um, gosh, in the end, who knows how much time you guys are actually going to have to spend
I
together. I
know.
mean, pretty soon, as it goes further and further into the summer, you're like getting closer and closer into, do I even start reporting to my pro team, or like, how's that going to work? Is there going to be some type of cooperation between the national teams and the pro teams, just recognizing that the time frame is condensed? I don't know. There's so many questions that are just crazy, I think.
Yeah, we are. I don't know. We've just been in this waiting game for a long time, and it's just hard to say for certain what's going to happen because there are so many unknowns. Like I think we had our big DNL tournament get canceled this year too, but I think there is still like one NORCECA tournament at the end of the summer still that hasn't been canceled yet. So it's like, I mean, who knows? That might keep us out here in a little longer, but it's just,
Right.
I mean, that's probably going to get, I don't know. We don't know anything, but if seeing the trends of everything getting canceled, like one would think that that's in the talks of getting canceled too. And so like, I don't know. It's just so many moving factors, but just trying to stay here now. And
Yeah. It's kind of all you can do. What is that NORCECA tournament? Is that the Olympic qualifier, or is that just some
no,
other?
we've already did a qualifier. I think it's not a Pan Am Cup.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure what it is, but I know there's something scheduled for like September, sometime in September.
Yeah. So you guys qualified at World Cup though, right?
No, World Cup wasn't a qualifier this year.
Oh,
Because,
that's interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah. Because Japan was hosting World Cup, they
Ah,
always host World Cup, and since the one of the teams that's already qualified was in that group already, it could have been like skewed, if Japan tossing game. No, I'm kidding. But they just wanted to keep the integrity of it, so that was not a qualifier this year. We qualified at, I don't know, it was a tournament, like a 4-team pool, and we came out and won that. So that's how we qualified, which is good.
I remember that now.
Yeah.
Okay, so since we didn't even start, we just kind of jumped right in. Tori Dixon, it's nice to have you on the show, and thanks for taking some time. This is awesome to get your thoughts as we go through these interesting times. I'm curious. Let's just go all the way back, just because I'm curious myself, and I'm sure other people are. How did you first get into playing volleyball? Way back when you first started?
Way back when. My neighbor, Betsy, she was like kind of my babysitter and like role model, I guess, looking at, like, she was a few years older than me, but she played volleyball and she was like the captain of my high school's team. And just, I don't know, she would just be like passing with me in the backyard setting, and she would like bring me to open gyms, and I really liked it. Like, I don't know if it was just that team aspect of it. Like, we would always go get coffee afterwards. I'd be like a 10-year-old drinking like my little frappuccino. I don't know, but I don't know. I just really enjoyed
how grown up of you.
Oh yeah, I was like forcing it down because obviously I hated coffee when I was little, but I think I was just drinking it to be cool at the time. I don't know, but I just really enjoyed it, and I'm glad she got me into it.
Yeah. And then, so how old were you then?
I was probably like 10 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. That's almost about where I started too. I think I was like 11 when I first started.
Yeah.
Because my older brother was playing, and then I was kind of like, at that age, I was like, I just want to play anything. Like, I just wanted to play, I didn't care what it was. And then he started playing volleyball. He's 3 years older than me. And then he started playing volleyball, and he's like, yeah, I need someone to practice with. And so he's like, you need to start playing. And so he kind of forced me into it. And then, like, kind of like you, I just started liking it, and it was fun. And when did you have your growth spurt? When did that happen for you?
Man, I mean, I've always been like taller than most. I would say not till, I feel like my junior year in high school, but I'm talking like I was already like 6 feet tall, and I grew maybe like 2 or 3 inches. So
got it.
now I'm like 6'3", 6'4", but I think my junior year is when I started to just grow.
Yeah.
But I was 6 feet growing up, and just they would always throw me in the middle. So I don't want to say I wasn't that tall, awkward kid, because I was, but definitely grew a lot when I got to high school.
That's funny because I've said this before, but for me it was like being between my freshman and sophomore year. Actually, it kind of kept going because my freshman year I was only 5'10". So it wasn't even like, I mean, I wasn't short, but I wasn't like abnormally tall, you know what I mean? And then my sophomore year I was 6'4". So I grew those 6 inches in that 1 year. People always ask me, did your body hurt? Did your like knees hurt? And I'm like, I don't remember having any like growing pains. It was just like, and when you're a kid, it's not like you wake up one morning and you're 5'11", and then the next morning you're 6'2". You know what I mean? It just happened that way, and that's kind of how it was for me. And then my sophomore to junior year, I grew another 3 inches. So I grew 9 inches in those 2 years. And that obviously helped quite a bit from a volleyball standpoint, because it's a little bit easier when you start getting a little taller. So, who were some of the players that you like as you're kind of coming up? Who were some of the players that you kind of looked up to, or that you wanted to emulate? Anybody that come to mind?
Yeah, so I'm from Minnesota, and I played club volleyball for Northern Lights, which is a big volleyball club in the state. And that was my first volleyball club. But Lauren Gibbenmeyer, I don't know if she was on the national team for a while, but she was always a player I looked up to. And like, she was 4 years older than me. So when you're like 12 years old, just like looking at your 17s, 18s team, like, she was my idol. And we joke about it now because we're obviously like really close. We're teammates now. And I always remember just like anything that Gibby and her teammates would do, I would do. So like Gibby wore these little plastic headbands. Like I would put those in my hair too. Like Gibby wore her socks a certain way. So I don't know. So just even, she's just my volley idol. I've looked up to her forever. Even when like in the national team and stuff, like she would just like take me under her wing, kind of just help me out a lot.
Oh, cool.
So she's my volley idol forever. But it's really cool. I played with her in college for a year, and then, I followed her to the University of Minnesota, and then I followed her to the national team, and yeah, she's always been a player I really looked up to, especially growing up.
Do you remember the first time you met her?
Yes. I think I was like getting recruited by Minnesota, and I was so nervous. I think we actually went to tour her apartment at the university. Just
Oh
doing
man.
normal campus apartment tours. Like,
Right.
I don't know. And I was like, looked at Gibby's bedroom. I'm like, oh my God. No, but I don't know. I was volley dorking out until I got to Minnesota. Then I was playing with her, so I had to act cool.
Yeah. You were on the team then, so it wasn't like you can.
So embarrassing.
That's funny. So I read this. I didn't know this about you. This is the first time that we've actually kind of met, sort of, because what a lot of people don't know that we didn't know either is now. So we're both in graduate school, yes, and we're utilizing this amazing program that is offered by the U.S. Olympic Committee, which they pay for graduate school for all the athletes. Tell me, how did you come about understanding that? Were you told that from someone? Because I'll tell you how I came about it, but how did you know that the USOC was offering kind of the graduate school grant for the athletes?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I see we get a lot of emails from the USOC, like, check out this resource. So I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I ignored it for a long time, and I know I shouldn't have. Now I'm like, you idiot. But my teammate actually told me about it, cool. And I had mentioned like wanting to go back to school just to like further my education, I guess, in preparation for an eventual retirement. Don't know when that's happening, but like eventually this whole sports world is gonna be done. So my teammate was taking classes, and she's like, yeah, you should just apply, do all this stuff. And then I was going through the whole process, and then COVID happened. So I didn't know that, like, that's not why I started applying, but like looking back at it now, it really couldn't have been a more perfect time. Yeah. Now I have all this free time to work on the schoolwork and not having to deal with the stress of the Olympics and all this stuff. So a lot of free time has come about. Yeah.
It's your path is almost exactly like my path. It was the same exact thing. You get all these emails from the USOC. I mean, I'm not even joking. I don't know. It pains me to say this, but I literally just like delete like maybe more than half of them. Like 75% of them, I just read the title. But this particular one, I have no idea why. I opened up one of them, and I was kind of actually reading through one of the emails, and it kind of had a blurb about the program, and I'm like reading it, and I'm like, this can't be. It sounded almost too good to be true, kind of thing. And I'm like, I wonder what the catch is here. And like you, I just kind of looked into it more, and then they're like, yeah, this is a real thing. And I was like, geez, I mean, it's always been a goal of mine too to I graduated from BYU, and then I've always wanted to get my MBA, knowing that I was kind of always wanted to go into the business type of field when whatever that looked like after I was done playing. And you're absolutely right. With COVID, it just seemed like an opportune time. And I talked to my wife, and I'm like, hey, like, I could go to graduate school and get my MBA for free. And she's like, well, why aren't you already signed up, dummy? And I'm like, yeah, good call. So that's what I did.
Your spouse can do it too.
No way.
But it's not full scholarship, but it's definitely discounted. So I'm just saying, like, if it ever happens where your wife's like, I want to go to school, then it's a good gig we got here.
Yeah, it is. I mean, thank you to the USOC, but like the thing about my wife is she has a PhD in bioengineering. So yeah, the last thing she wants to do is more school. So bless her heart.
Never going to no classroom again.
Yeah, seriously. One thing that I learned about you when I was kind of researching you, for interviews, you always kind of like, I Googled you, of course, and I was checking out all this stuff. So you had heart surgery when you were in college, right?
Yes, I did.
Talk a little bit about that. I'm just curious how that put a damper on everything. How were you able to manage all of it? What was it about?
Yeah. So growing up, even I remember I had these like bursts of like I knew like my heart rate would like jump up, and I would start to get a little dizzy and like kind of lightheaded. I didn't like pass out ever, but like definitely would lose some vision. Like I would start to black out a little bit. But I feel like, and then obviously heavy breathing and kind of like almost like just really trying to catch my breath. And it was difficult, but I feel like it was never that severe. It wouldn't happen that often. And I feel like a lot of those traits like were linked to other things like, oh, I just didn't sleep well, or I just didn't eat right. You know, like, I don't know, just, I kind of put it off. I'm like, oh no, this is fine. Cause it would only be in bursts of like maybe 10 minutes or so. And then I'd be back to normal. So it's just, and it didn't happen frequently enough for it to be a concern. But I remember at Minnesota,
How frequent would you feel things being off or weird?
yeah, I guess growing up, I remember it happening a lot, like maybe once a month.
Okay.
This would happen, and kind of randomly too, not necessarily when I was working out. Like it could be I was doing house chores and it would randomly like start to being weird. So it was like, I don't know, it was just really random, I guess. But then when I went to Minnesota, the frequency got more severe. Like it started happening maybe once every 2 weeks, once every week. And then I remember in my junior spring, we were doing conditioning in a really hard phase. And I remember just saying like, this isn't normal. And it started being so frequent where it was almost every day something would be happening. Like I would get this, like whatever. And I remember like going to my trainer, and I don't know if they thought it was just like freshmanitis, like, oh, she's out of shape or something. Like, of course she doesn't want to do sprints, but I remember having to stop doing sprints because I literally couldn't see. And then one day I just like broke my trainer. I was like, look, like something is wrong with me. Like, I know something's wrong with me. I need to get this checked out. Anyway, they sent me to a cardiologist. I got like a little event monitor, which is something like kind of like a heart rate monitor. But then when you start to feel these symptoms, you like push the button, and then that sends like, it reads your heart and what the activity and stuff, and it sends it to the doctor. And then within that week, they were like, yep, this tachycardia that hops on every once in a while. So I had an extra node in my heart, just an extra like passageway. And so they were like, it can be handled with medication, but given that you're an athlete and you want to be doing this for a long time, you don't want to be dealing with medication every day. Like we suggest maybe the surgery because it's a pretty low risk surgery. So my junior year, just had my heart surgery and got that fixed, and haven't really had a problem since. So I've been lucky with that, but definitely put a halt on some things my junior spring. I think I was out for maybe like 2 months total. I missed most of my spring season, I think, which was, I was taking care of something that needed to be taken care of. So I'm not like, I don't know, missing out on that much, but because it needed to happen, but it was definitely put a damper on things for a little bit.
So it was you have full open heart surgery?
No. So they went in through like veins and arteries. It's crazy what they can do now, like microscopically, but I went in there and burned that extra passageway, and I don't know, did some stuff, and now I'm great. I haven't had problems since, so been really lucky.
That's fantastic. Wow, what a story. 2 months, heart surgery, out 2 months, then you come back, and did you immediately feel different? And was it like a relief that you didn't have to worry about these things that you'd been dealing with your whole life?
Yeah. So what I had though, it was basically, you just live in this, like I had a normal, and then something would happen. They said like it's caused by any sudden change in heart rate. So it could be anything from me sleeping in the morning and waking up, and like that's a sudden like jolt, or it could be adrenaline, obviously, while playing sports, which explains why it happened a lot during conditioning and things like that, when your heart rate just jumps really high, really fast.
Yeah.
So that normal obviously didn't change much, but when it did, I don't know, when it would normally jump up to a really high heart rate, like it just didn't do that anymore. So it was just like this normalcy, like I didn't have to worry about, like, am I going to have this happen to me in conditioning? Like it just freed up my training a lot. I don't know, I just don't have to worry about it anymore. It was great, like just having that freedom, because I don't know, it was kind of anxiety of mine for a while until I knew what it was. Because I always thought like, oh, you're not eating right, or you're not drinking enough water, or you're not getting enough sleep. But like knowing that it was something that was actually wrong with me makes me feel better. Like, I don't
know. So now you went to the University of Minnesota. Talk to me about when you first heard about Hugh coming in to coach the team, and just your thoughts as that was unfolding, and he was being hired on into the school.
Yeah, I was stoked, obviously. Like, you hear a national team coach, not just a national team coach, but like, he's had so much experience overseas, and you know, he's on all these committees. Like, he's just a very big name in volleyball. Like, literally, there's no bigger name that could have been hired than Hugh McCutcheon at that point in time. And so, I don't know, I was just really excited, and it did make me a little nervous because I was a freshman when my supposed to be my head coach, Mike Hebert. He was supposed to coach me my all 4 years. Obviously, that's the plan.
Right.
But he announced his retirement after my freshman year, and I knew that Hugh McCutcheon was going to be busy until obviously after the 2012 Olympics, which
Right.
was 2 years later. So it was like, okay, you know, or 1.5 years. So then it was kind of evaluating, like, I don't know what to do now. Like, okay, who's going to be our interim coach? And then that whole process was just interesting. And but I was so excited Hugh was going to be our coach. He was pretty hands off until he got to Minnesota. Obviously, we knew him, we met with him a little bit, but he wanted to be solely focused on the national team, which is,
right,
you know, it's good. But yeah, but I was just, you know, really holding out, like, yeah, this is going to be really good, like, when he gets here.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know our history, Hugh and I, but so Hugh was my coach when I first came to college. In my freshman year at BYU, I was 17. So I'd skipped a grade. So I was always a year younger than everybody. And so Hugh had been my coach since I had been very young. And then obviously all throughout college, and we win a national championship together, and he's on our coaching staff. And then I go on to the national team and in the Olympics, and he was our assistant coach in 2004 in Athens. And then of course what we did in 2008 in Beijing, and then him moving over to the women's team and for 2012. And so, you know, he and I have been connected for many, many years, and I've been fortunate enough to experience the brilliance that he has coaching the game of volleyball. I mean, I tell people all the time that it's not even just the way that he knows the game, because he obviously knows the game really well, but just the way he's able to motivate players, the way he's able to institute a system that works, and to get a team to buy into that system wholeheartedly, role clarity, all the really important things that come from a leader that you want in their head coach, right? And he's just so masterful at all that stuff. And so I was just curious at what you were thinking when you first got a chance to be coached by him. So, and what he's done at University of Minnesota has been phenomenal as well, right? Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the program was good, but they weren't, you know, national powerhouses year after year. And then all of a sudden someone like Hugh comes in, and then, you know, there's all the success that happens, which to me is not coincidental. I mean, do you see it any different?
No. He's such a good teacher of the game. Like, I don't know how to, obviously, yes, he has all these qualities that a leader has. He's good at role clarity. He can communicate well and all this stuff, but he's also, like, what people don't know about him is he's just simplifies everything so much. And I think for young players, that's so, well, for all players, but especially young players, like, having those fundamentals and stuff set in and drilled in, and the system, like you said, the system that he puts into play is so important. And I think that was lacking a little bit at Minnesota. And I think when he came there, and just like, he's just such a good teacher of the game, I think it helped immensely. I don't know, from a personal standpoint and from my teammates, you know. So yeah, I'm just really happy he decided to come on up to Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm sure you're with a lot of people in that regard. So talk about your professional playing career. Where have you played? What have been some highlights? Where, you know, talk a little bit about some, even if you've got anything that pops out story-wise. I mean, I played 11 years in Europe, so I've got all these stories because I played in all these different places. And of course, every place is different. Cultures are different. Volleyball is different. The leagues are different. So talk a little bit about your professional career up to this point. I know it's not over, but.
Yeah. I played, so right after college in December, I graduated early. So I got this call from my agent who was like, this team that's already qualified for Champions League Final Four wants you. I'm like, I mean, yeah, when you're starting off your career, you kind of need that exposure. So there's literally no bigger stage than that in Europe. So I was like, yep, sign me up, going there. So I played for that team actually the rest of that season, and then I signed another year with that same team in Azerbaijan, Baku, Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
Tough sell, so a little nervous about that. But then I played in Japan.
Yeah, but Azerbaijan, the league was. I mean, I knew even back when I played, a lot of the women's players would go play in Azerbaijan as the league was starting to develop some credibility.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the pay was good, or else no one would be going there, right? And so, talk about the life in Azerbaijan. I mean, I'm sure it was interesting. I played in Turkey for a number of years.
Yeah.
And so, 99.9% of the country is Muslim. Mm-hmm. It's just a different culture, and you're a white, blonde American guy, and it's just different. You're not a white, blonde American guy, but there's some things that you got to get used to for sure.
Yeah, it was a trip, but I talked about my volley idol Gibi. She was actually playing in that league. Now that I'm saying this, it kind of sounds a little creepy. I'm just like following her everywhere. But I don't know. She was very helpful in the beginning of my professional career too, because she also played in Baku at the time. So she was answering all my questions. I was really nervous, like coming out of college. Grew up in Minnesota, played at Minnesota. Of course, I've traveled a little bit, but never to the Middle East.
Right.
And I was just like, is this safe? Like, I had no idea like what to expect from this country. Like, is there food I can eat? I don't know. I was a very picky eater back then too, but I don't know. It was
that'll change quick after playing a couple years overseas.
Oh yeah, you're getting real creative and will eat anything. So
yeah.
Yeah, it was just so interesting. Definitely a culture shock, and just I think that was my first year overseas, and like you said, that country has a lot of money, which means I had a lot of high-level players on my team, and I really didn't know it at the time, but just some of the things that happened, I don't know, just some personalities, and we had some divas, like they'd be like, we're not showing up to practice tomorrow because we're not being paid. I'm like, what do you mean we're not showing up to practice? Like, this is my first week here. Like,
and then you're also probably thinking, what do you mean you're not getting paid?
Yeah.
That's a thing?
It's professional volleyball is a whole other world, and I feel like Baku is like
trip.
Even,
I could do a whole nother podcast just about playing pro volleyball. That's it. Just like all the stories. Yeah, exactly right.
But yeah, just Azerbaijan in general was a trip. It seems like a fake city. It's not, but like the city is so lavish. It was that's just not what I was expecting. But I don't know. I played some really high level volleyball there, and like you said, they have money, so I was just happy to be making that right out of college, and learned a lot. Definitely thrown into the deep end on that one, but yeah, I'm really happy with my experience there.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so you played there for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. You kind of got the lay of the land. Then where do you go after that?
I went to Japan.
That's a big switch, by the way.
Yeah. Major upgrade. No, I'm kidding. No, but like I love Japan. I would play in Japan the rest of my career if I could. But yeah, I played for Tori, which was in Atsu, Japan, close to Kyoto. So it was like obviously a really historical area, like a lot of I don't know, just a lot of temples and shrines and a lot of sake bars, and I don't know, it was a really cool area to play. That's probably been my favorite experience overseas thus far, but I think that just goes to the Japanese culture. Like they just take such good care of you. Like anything that you need or want, like they're happy to provide. So yeah, that was my third year overseas.
Awesome fans too in Japan. They're just super courteous, and they love volleyball, and
just like the energy, like they have all these organized cheers, and they're all like super cutesy. Like they're just, it's kind of, I don't know.
Got their little clapper things.
Yeah, they're almost like very like overall like an innocent culture. I don't know if that makes sense, but just they're just cute. I don't know. I really like playing there. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I tell people all the time outside of the U.S. and you know how it is. I mean, we travel a lot, and I've been lots of places, but I've probably been to Japan. I've definitely been to Japan more than any other place in the world, just because of how well they organize tournaments, and it's no wonder that World Cups and World Championships are always there, because they're so well run. And anytime we had a chance to go play there, I would just be like, oh yeah, this is going to be fantastic. And So
For
it
sure.
was cool to check out and go visit all the cool places in Japan and learn about all the history and all of that. So
Yeah, I don't think any team in the world, like no matter what country it is, you know, Brazil, China, X, Y, and Z, all the European teams, I feel like Japan is like the one place that everyone really enjoys to play. Like, okay, you might like traveling to Europe, you like traveling to this, but I think every country can agree, like Japan just does such a good job hosting these tournaments, and like every little detail is so planned out. Like, I don't know, they just do such a good job. Like everyone loves playing there.
yeah.
And I don't know if I could say that about any other country.
So let me pause you there, because while you're playing in Japan, you had another injury, right?
Yes.
So you ended up tearing your ACL
Yes.
while you were playing over there.
Yes.
And did you have surgery there, or did you go back to the US?
No. So I tore my knee playing in a match, and then I came back to the US to get the surgery done.
So talked about like what happened.
Yeah.
Take us through like what happened in the match and what you were thinking. And
yeah, so it was in February sometime. Honestly, I remember it being like either our last game or second to last game of the season. So
oh, wow.
we were real close to being done, and I was coming around. I was running a gap, which is 31. I don't know what else you call it, but
like a shoot set.
Shoot set. Yeah. I was running one of those, and so a lot of momentum going towards my left side, and I ended up just landing pretty hard on my left. I think just that momentum carried me a little too far. I broad jumped too far into it and ended up hearing a little bit of a pop, and then that was it for my ACL, which was hard. Went to the doctors in Japan. They obviously rushed me to the hospital and got it scanned, and right away they're like, yep, you tore your ACL. But I didn't have any other structural damage, which was good. Some fluid around my meniscus, but it wasn't torn, so that was good. Then I packed up my stuff, got on a plane a week later, had surgery in Minnesota actually, and then the whole rehab process happened.
Which is always fun.
Yeah.
But
something like that.
Yeah. The bummer thing about all of that was just simply the timing of it, right? Because you're talking February of 2016, and you guys are already qualified for Rio. So are you already at a point where you're like, well, there goes Rio, or was there any hope in you that maybe you could get back? What was that conversation like as you're talking that over?
Looking back at it now, I always tell people I wish it would have happened like 2 months earlier or 2 months later. Like, but it was in that time frame that it's like, okay, not likely, but like maybe, like there's a
then it's messing with you a little bit.
Yeah. So there was just like, even like the decisions in how you repair your knee, like there's stuff that's like can get you back faster, but you might be giving up longevity. And there's stuff that's maybe a little more durable, but you'd be giving up like some of your jumping ability. It's like just it affects everything. And so had to make some decisions and obviously all that stuff, and push through the rehab as if I was preparing for the Olympics, even though that was very it was out of the future, but like wasn't at the same time. It was like a weird timing piece of it, but we were pushing it pretty hard. And then once we got to about May-ish, and you realize like, okay, there's no way, like I'm not even jumping at this point.
Right.
Then it was like, okay, now we can slow down a little bit and really focus on like just getting that left knee nice and strong. And then the focus turned from Olympics to more like, okay, maybe you can play a professional season afterwards. But yeah, there was definitely some bad timing in it.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I don't know. A lot of people that it's, being an athlete, injuries are a part of it's just a part of the story, right? Mm-hmm. I've never torn my ACL, knock on wood, but, I've had my fair share of injuries, and it's just, but you're right though. The timing of that would be really tough. I remember the only reason why I'm telling you this story is because it's a little bit, but not quite nearly the same, because what I did wasn't nearly as bad as tearing an ACL. So right before Athens in 2004, good heavens, I want to say probably like 2 weeks before we were ready to leave, I got a really bad high ankle sprain in practice. And so that I go in, the games are like in, I forgot, a certain time frame, 4 or 5 weeks away. And the doctor tells me, no, you're 6 to 8 weeks, you're down. So you're going to miss. And I'm like, no, let's figure out what we're going to do here because no, I'm not going to be down. And so I was just like you were saying, I just went full hardcore into, okay, so what do we need to do every day? And it was every day. I mean, the rehab was much harder than any of the training that we were doing because mentally and physically, like just trying to get back to a point where I felt like I was good enough to go. So the team actually went without me and I was still on the roster. And so I kind of had to convince the coaching staff that, look, hey, I'm going to be ready when the time comes. Just know this. But in the back of my mind, realizing I don't really know this. You know what I mean?
I'm like, I'm saying this, but I don't know if I need this.
Mentally, I'm trying to tell myself, yes, I'm going to do this. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, can I really do this?
Yeah.
And I remember our first match. So I didn't even walk in the opening ceremonies because they wouldn't let me because my ankle was still in a boot in the opening ceremonies. And so I'm at home watching my team walk in the opening ceremonies while I got my foot up trying to do rehab on it. I'm doing all these flex exercises and all this, the garbage that you do. And our first match comes. And the thing that was crazy was so this was my second Olympics. Our first Olympics, we totally underperformed. We didn't win a single match. We lost every match in the Olympics in Sydney in 2000. And so a lot of those guys were back on this team and it was a little bit of a redemption Olympics for us. We're like, come on, like we know we're better than that. And so the first match comes, I don't start because, I hadn't been with the team training and we kind of go down a little bit during the match. And at some point our coach puts me in and my foot was they put this tape on it that was like, it was literally like a cast.
Yeah.
Like my foot was like this and I couldn't move it at all. And they casted me up and it was super uncomfortable, but I'm like, whatever, you get in the game, you don't really think about it. And I went in and played and I ended up starting the rest of the Olympics. And so it's just interesting what the mind does when you can push past things. And I've still got scar tissue in the ankle from it, but it hasn't bothered me since. But
you're going to be feeling that in about 20 years.
I hope not.
You don't regret that.
So what are you thinking when you're at home and the team's playing in Rio? Like what's going through your mind? Are you watching the game? Are you watching the team?
Yeah. I watched it always. Luckily, we were like on the same time zone pretty much, like Rio in the U.S. or within a few hours. So it's not like I had to be up in the middle of the night or anything. But yeah, I was watching every game and like still was pretty involved. I had a pretty big role up until then too. So I felt like I was a pretty big part of that team. I was starting, I think I got hurt. So it was just like, I felt very connected and mates were there and just, I was rooming with Kelly Murphy and Rachel at the time. So it's like, and my best friend on the team, I think would be Kelsey Robinson. So it was like, you see all these people that you play with, not only play with, live with, your best friends, so I watched every game and like still would get FaceTimes from the girls, like freaking out about a ball that dropped in between Kelsey and someone else. I don't know, just random little things like that. I was still in it, even though I wasn't in it.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. Like I have found peace with like not being able to go. I feel like I found that closer sometime in the summer, and obviously it sucks. So you want to be there and be with your people, but it was still, I was so excited for all my friends and like teammates and people you've played with forever. Like it was still like the same teams you played against and all the players, and so it's just still like I felt very involved in it, even though I wasn't there, obviously. I was just so proud of them. A lot of my friends, it was their first Olympics. I was like, oh, you guys are so cute in your little uniforms, and just, I don't know, it was still like so cool for them. And I don't know, I was really excited for everyone.
That's cool. Correct me if I'm wrong again, but you've got this mental mindset where you're putting in the work, you're going to be back. Right. That it's not, you're not going to let the ACL define your career. You're going to at some point be able to be back on the court. competing again, getting to that level, and then eventually, you know, as time comes, knock on wood again, you know, you get your chance in Tokyo and you get to experience everything that they were able to experience and try to fight to win and all the good stuff that comes with going to the Olympics, right?
For sure. I was very fortunate early on in my pro career to have such a big impact from a young age. Like I came in the gym and, you know, started making rosters pretty early and stuff. And so I was still relatively young. So I made that decision like that I wanted to come back and do another quad even before I tore my ACL. I always knew that I definitely had more in me. And I think maybe it's time to give it up when you stop loving it, I think. And I still definitely loved playing. I loved coming in the gym every day and seeing all my people. I'm a very big like connection person. So just like shooting, sorry, I was about to swear on your podcast, just hanging out with my teammates.
All we had to do was put the E next to it. And
just hanging out with my teammates every day and just like having those, I just loved it. And so just, I knew that was always something I wanted to get back to. And so that was, you know, the driving force for a long time was just like, hey, I want to be back because I love this, you know, it's still part of me and not ready to give up quite yet, but yeah.
So then COVID happens and they postpone the games for another year. What are you thinking when they make that decision? Are you like,
I just have bad luck and I should give up? No.
You're like, the Olympics hates me.
No,
why does the Olympics hate me so much?
Literally a report, like one of my hometown reporters was like, do you ever think that you're bad luck? I'm like, well, I didn't, but like now I'm starting to, like, I don't know. Maybe now.
That's funny. Talk to me a little bit about winning world champs in 2014. Like, good heavens. I think I played 3 world championships and it's a grueling tournament. People don't know, like world championships is tough. Mm-hmm. It's a hard tournament to compete in. It's a hard tournament to win. And we never really played well in the world championships during my whole career. I think that the highest we ever finished when I was playing was like 7th or something. So talk to me a little bit about your guys' run there and how special that was just in the development of that team and having Karch take over and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it was so cool. That was actually my first summer with the national team. So I didn't really know the history of like you said, like the men's team hasn't won and the women's team has never won either. So it was like I was kind of young and naive to a lot of things that happened.
Which is kind of nice. I tell my wife, it's like, I coined this term blissfully ignorant.
Yes.
Because when you're blissfully ignorant, you don't really know, right? Yes. And so you can just like, I just want to play. Whatever. Exactly. I don't know about any history. I just want to play hard. So
yeah, I was sitting on the bench having the time of my life. Like, like you go guys. I don't know. It was just so cool. And
where was that? Where was it in 2014? Where were you at?
Italy.
Oh, in Italy. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
So we went to a bunch of days in Italy, all over northern Italy. I don't think we went south of like Milan. You know, we were in Verona, Milan. I can't remember. We were doing Tour de Italy, but it was really cool. I don't know. I was very blissfully ignorant to a lot of things that had happened, so I didn't really know like how big of a tournament this was, really until I don't know. I mean, I understood, but like it was hard to really understand until you get the bigger picture of like, you know, what an Olympic quad looks like how that breaks down. Like this is the biggest tournament besides the Olympics every year. You know, it was a big deal. And we ended up playing really well, like as a team. And it was a good mix of, you know, you have your older veterans and you had little puppy dogs like me and Kelsey, like who don't know anything about anything and just happy to be here. And so it was just a cool combination and how that leadership helped us like just kind of integrate. Like I think out of all my teams on the national team, like that's the team I feel like that I felt most like connected to, I guess, from like just I don't know, I just felt very connected to that group and just such a fun time and obviously accomplished something really cool. But we actually almost didn't make it into the top 4. It came down to I think Brazil. Someone had to beat someone for us to end up 4. So we got lucky that all went down well. But I remember Italy had to beat Brazil or China. Italy had to beat someone. So we were over there cheering for Italy. Like, just, let's go. Yeah. So it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies, obviously. Like we lost matches we probably shouldn't have. And you know, we had put our fate in someone else's hands, but it was so much fun. And obviously you couldn't have found a better place than Italy to host a tournament like that. So that was just my intro to the national team, and it was so fun. One of my favorite memories from volleyball is that tournament. So I really enjoyed it.
Very cool. And did I see that did you play a year in Italy as well, professionally?
I did. Yeah. So after my rehab process, I ended up taking that whole year off. I had some options to play at the halfway point. But
which would have been like January-ish of the next year.
Yes.
Yeah.
But none that were like appealing enough to make me want to risk my progress and my knee and all that stuff. So I played in Italy the next year after that. What would that have been? 2018? 2018.
Okay.
2017. I don't know.
And did you play? So going into whatever that year ended up being, then when the national team came back, you played a full round before you went and played in Italy that year. Then, so did you play tournaments that year as well?
Yep. So I was making those rosters and traveling and all that stuff all summer, and my rehab process went really well. Like I was back to playing that next summer, and back with my people. It's great.
Yeah. So where did you play in Italy? Because I played in Italy for 7 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Where at?
So I played a year in a little city called Forlì, which is just a little south of Bologna.
Mm-hmm.
And then I played 4 years in a town called Montichiari, which is like 30 minutes west of Verona.
Okay.
And then I played a year in Milan, and then I played a year in Trento, which is in the Italian Alps up in the north.
Cool.
Yeah.
I played for Monza, which is like 30 minutes north of Milan.
Oh, got it.
Mm-hmm. I really liked it. It was in a really good spot. Like probably, I would say the closest team to Milan. So it was really cool. Like we would like almost every off day go to like a restaurant, or I don't know. It was just a lot of fun being so close and getting to see all the cool sightseeing stuff. And it was cool.
Yeah. How was the league? Was the league good? I mean, is it because, you know, the Italian league for the men is considered one of the better leagues in the world. Is it the same for the women too?
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely the best, if not one of the best leagues for sure.
Yeah.
Our team wasn't qualified for any of the European, Champions League, CEV Cup. We were not in that bubble. So this was a team that I think 2 years prior, they just came up from A2, which is the lower division. They came up to A1. And so they were definitely in the building process of like building a good team, but they had a lot of good components. Like we had Micah Hancock, our setter for the national team. She came with me, and a lot of bits and pieces that like they were hoping to throw together and make something. I think we ended up getting either third or fourth place in the league, which was like huge. They wanted top 6. So like that was just really good for them. But yeah, I really liked it. It was such a good experience. They have a men's team too. And so Kavika, setter for men's national team, was there.
Cool.
Yeah. So there was just a lot of Americans in that little bubble. It was really nice to play there.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And how was your Italian? Did you pick it up? Tu parli Italiano?
No.
Nope. That's the tough part about having a lot of Americans around, because my first year when I played professionally, I went to Italy, and we had 3 Americans on our team. So we had myself and 2 other American guys on my team, and we also had our setter was Finnish, and he spoke perfect English, and so it was really hard to pick up Italian because everybody was, a lot of even our Italian guys were speaking English, and so you almost have to jump in, because my second year when I played there, I went to a different team, and very few people on our team spoke English, and our coach was very strict around, no, we're all gonna speak Italian. And so I'm like, all right, I guess I got to figure out how to speak Italian. So
yeah, I got really lucky. Like I said, they were trying to build this team, so I had a lot of foreigners on that team. Like, okay, only me and Micah were Americans, but we had a girl from the Czech Republic, we had a girl from Bulgaria. Like we had a lot of foreign players, and I think the common language common language. Let's say a German player or two we had, so
Yeah.
everyone spoke English, and that's just like the universal language of, okay, English isn't perfect, but that's kind of what everyone gets taught in school.
Right.
So it was really easy to communicate with everyone. Almost all my Italian teammates spoke a little English. I tried to pick up phrases here and there just to be like a little conversational. And I could like start to understand what they were talking about, like the context of what they were talking about, like whether that was like going out to eat or, the coach said this or something, but I wouldn't be able to tell details. Like I wouldn't know what the coach was saying, but I knew they were talking about what the coach said. So I don't know. You start to pick up little bits and pieces and cues, but definitely was not speaking Italian.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I read this too. I thought it was interesting. Your dad, you probably talked about this a lot. Your dad played a number of years in the NFL.
Yeah, he played. That's kind of how we ended up in Minnesota too. But he played 13, 14 years in the NFL for a long time. But his last 10 were for the Vikings. So that's how we actually ended up in Minnesota. Like we have no family there, no anything, but I think playing 10 years and you kind of build a life there. And so obviously I have siblings and stuff, and we were all in school. Like I think I was in junior high when by the time he retired. So it was just all of us had already started school and all that stuff. So they actually decided to just stay there after he retired. And, that's just where they live now. That's where we live now.
So what was it like growing up, your dad playing in the NFL? I mean, did you even care, or was there anything different about him being a professional football player, or what was that like?
I mean, you're obviously kind of oblivious to a lot of it, just because, like, of course,
blissfully ignorant.
Blissfully ignorant. See, that's just what I am, though. I don't know, just growing up and stuff, like, there's just things that would happen that I was just like, oh yeah, that's normal. Like my dad would have to go away for the summer because they have training camps. But in my head, like that was just what normal was. And we had to go drive an hour and a half to Mankato, Minnesota and go visit him in training camps. That was just my normal. And we would, every Saturday, we'd have to go drop him off at the hotel in downtown Minneapolis because they're required to stay there before game days. That was just normal. And so, I don't know, there was things that were different growing up, but generally speaking, like he was there a lot. Like I didn't ever feel like I was missing his presence that much. Like nothing really was different. I remember going to the games and stuff when I was growing up, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I liked going to, I don't know if you know, but during the football games, they have like a babysitter room kind of for like all the children, like a daycare kind of. But it's so cool. I loved it. I was like, I want to go there, like just hang out for the day, like while they're playing, obviously. But that was just part of my normal, I guess. But it was cool, like growing up and being able to do stuff and being so intertwined with football. You grow up loving American football. So still a big Vikings fan though.
You still are?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes.
It's funny that now you grow up and that you're a professional athlete and you kind of get it now, right? Because like you go on a road trip. There were also teams that I've played on where they would make you stay in a hotel even for home games.
Yeah.
You'd have to go the night before and stay in the hotel. And so now you're like, oh, I kind of get it. I kind of understand now that there's these kind of team rules and whatever it looks like, and they're paying you. So you feel obligated to having to follow the rules, unless you're in Azerbaijan, I guess. And you're like, we're not coming to practice because you're not paying.
Yeah. Just some weird things happening. No, yeah. And he had like knee surgery and stuff. And I remember him having this and like being hooked up to this machine all the time. I'm like, what do you mean you can't help me? Like, it's like I have an hour left here. I'm like, that's annoying. But now looking back at it, I think it was one of those like cold compress machines. And just so now it's like, okay, yeah, going through a knee injury, I get it. Like you can't do anything you can't move for an hour. So I understand. But like back then it's like, I'm just annoyed my dad won't help me with my homework or something,
right.
like, I don't know.
He's got these huge balloons on his legs.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do that, right?
Yeah.
The cold water comes into the big balloons and
some old school like huge machine, I bet.
Yeah. Give us your thoughts on the newly announced the Women's Pro League in the U.S. coming next year. Like, when you guys hear that, what do you think? Because I think most of the guys that you would talk to always wonder how big of a pay cut they'd take to be able to play in the U.S. But it's interesting because I see like Farouk and like Jordan Larson and the players that have already said, yeah, we're interested in signing up to do this, but they're also going to be playing overseas as well, right? Did I read that right?
Yeah, so I know Jordan is already signed to play. She's for sure playing, but she also is she's going to China. I've played with her in China for a few years. So the nice thing about the Chinese league though is it gets done in January. So it's like that's definitely an option for either taking a contract overseas, like another half season, or playing in this pro league. So Jordan's already signed on. Faluka, I don't know if I know she signed on to the league in the U.S. for sure. And my guess is she might want to go back to her Japan team, but I just know they were really successful when she was there, and so that would make sense. I don't know if she signed officially yet, but I can see that definitely happening.
Yeah. And what do you think for yourself? I mean, I know it's different if you don't have the luxury of, who knows, but would you like to play in it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it for sure. I've played in Beijing now for 3 years and signed another year for this next year. So it's definitely like an option, like timing wise, it does work out.
What about your club in Beijing? Are they cool with it? Have you talked to them at all about it? Because I know that might be a touchy thing. You haven't talked to them? Hopefully they're not listening, so don't worry about it.
Done. Like I wouldn't miss anything. I would be completely committed to Beijing, like no matter, I don't know, like it's not like I would have to leave Beijing or something and then go play. Like I would almost leave Beijing, have a little bit of time, almost a month, and then play in this other pro league. So
because they're saying February, right? Next year, February, and then February to what are they saying?
I thought it was March, but I could be wrong.
March.
It might be February.
Okay.
Maybe it's like the end of February through March. But yeah,
so it's only like 4 or 5 weeks then, ideally. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, so the format's a little different. It's I think games to 15, and I think it's more individually based. So like your stats will come into play and stuff like that. Teams will switch around every week, which could be cool. I just think I'm just really grateful for these people, what Athletes Unlimited is doing, because they're putting a lot of money and resources and experience behind this. And it's something that, like, obviously, like you said, your teammates always talked about, like, getting a pay cut to play in the U.S. Like, I would love to play in the U.S. Like, if that's something that's sustainable, like, that is such a cool option. So I'm just really grateful for, getting that ball rolling and the conversation going and, putting those resources to professional volleyball. Like, I just think it's going to be so good for the sport. And I'm hoping it works out. I don't know. I actually have a call tomorrow trying to talk about details and stuff. I still don't know like where it's going to be or all that stuff.
Right.
It's dates, like you said, just logistics behind it. But I think the idea of just having a pro volleyball league here is so cool and something that's really been missing in professional volleyball, in my opinion. Yeah.
Totally agree.
I'm excited to see like what happens. Like it's so early and like, they're in decision-making mode right now, so a lot of details haven't been ironed out, but I don't know, I'm just excited.
Making it, viewer appetizing so that people are attracted to it in certain ways is probably what they're thinking about right now. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it's awesome that somebody's willing to put forth the effort to do that. Is super cool for the game. So,
for sure.
I'll be watching.
Yeah. For sure. I'll be watching. I'm not going to say that on right out loud here, but maybe playing. I don't know yet what it looks like, but
you heard it here, folks. She might be playing. Breaking news.
That's a heavy might. I'm like a type of person that needs to be like have it planned out. So I need to know where I'm going to be, like how long I'm going to be somewhere.
Oh,
like,
yeah. No, totally.
Where I'm going to live. Like it's I just need I need to see it all before I can make a decision. But just the idea of it, I mean, this is obviously something that, no one wants to leave their family and friends and go overseas to the middle of Russia for 8 months, 9 months of the year. Like you just miss so much. So I think having an option for those who do want to stay home and play, like
totally,
it's really cool.
So that leads me to this next question. So I'm really happy that I get to talk to you because I've wanted to dig into this with somebody like yourself that might have an interesting perspective. So the first person I had on the show was Karch, and I wanted to ask him this too. So I'm going to butcher these numbers because I don't know them totally, but there's something like 350 Division I college women's programs, and there's 27 Division I men's programs, I think, in college. So the men have won 3 gold medals in the Olympics, and the women have yet to win a gold medal. So the question I've heard so many times from people is, how is it possible that women's college volleyball is the most populated college sport in all of women's athletics is women's volleyball? That I think I do know. Yet on a national level, you haven't had the success that we've had from a gold medal Olympic standpoint that the men have. I have some philosophies. I wanted to get Karch's ideas. I'm curious at how you would answer that. Why haven't the women, with the talent pool, the amount of players that are available, what are your thoughts on what's going to take for you guys to get over the hump and actually get to that gold medal standard or that place where you can actually win it? Because, I mean, you've been there a few times, right? I mean, they've been so close so many times. What's it going to take to get over the hump?
I don't know if I can really answer. Like, I think there's this question could go so many different ways. Like, I don't know what that looks like. It's hard to say because it hasn't been done yet. And I think what we're trying to realize is we have the best players in the world. Like, you have you look at every league across the world, Italy, Turkey, China, Japan, Brazil, like, we have players in every league that do so well. We have all the pieces, and now it's just like putting it together in something that is super successful. And I think there has been that success in the past, but never an Olympic gold, and that's always been the goal, obviously. And I think it's just how we come together as a team, honestly, like just that buy-in mentality and like just everyone, just that cohesive unit. And I haven't been a part of previous quads or previous Olympic teams, so I don't know if that was missing, but I know that's definitely like a focus of ours. Even now during quarantine, like, we're doing a lot of like team building exercises and really like doing what we can now. And I think at the end of the day, like, an Olympic medal is going to be going to the team. Like, everyone's so skilled, but I think the best team is going to win it in women's volleyball. So just putting that work in, and I don't know what that looks like. Like, it's I don't know what the framework looks like, but all I know is just trying to, form this bond with my teammates and this trust and everything, like, to be successful.
That's huge.
It's so
huge.
It
really is.
I don't know, but like you said, there is such a big pool. Like, there's so much talent in the U.S. and so much talent in the college game and stuff. So it is a little disappointing that the women haven't won that gold medal yet. So I don't know, just trying to put all those pieces together. There's so many people, and just piecing it and making it work. I don't know. That's just been something I can control now, even like with COVID and stuff, but I don't know.
I'm rooting for you guys because, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. Volleyball, the women's volleyball to your point, there's too much talent. Mm-hmm. Just putting it all together, you're absolutely right, is really what it takes. Because the reason why I say that is because the fraction of difference between what it takes to win gold versus not medaling at all oftentimes is so small in the Olympics. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like,
here and there.
It's seriously, it's like 1 or 2 points here or there in a match or two. Like, even in Beijing when we won, so we go to our crossover match, we're playing against Serbia, and we're down 2-1. So we have to come back, and we win in 5, luckily. But, I mean, everyone you're playing at that point is a really good team. So it's like it's these fractions of points and little plays here or there. Then we go into the semifinal match. We play against Russia, who we hadn't beat a lot. We just didn't match up well against them. We come out on fire. We go up 2-0. And then they come back and take us to, to over points in the 5th set. But again, it's like the margin of error was like that small. And to your point, though, I don't know, it's just putting all the right pieces together at all the right times, which for volleyball is the Olympics, right? That's the right time. It's the highest stage. It's the biggest thing that you can be a part of. And I don't know, I'll be rooting for you guys in Tokyo because I know it's going to happen at some point, and it'll be super special. And I think even you guys, the women, will feel like, okay, we finally got this thing off our backs now. We've been there so many times, and we've just barely just haven't gotten it done, but now we can say that we have, and we know we're doing the right things in regards to how we're training and how we're getting together as a team. And when you win gold, so like I told you, my first Olympics, we finished in last. Then in Athens, we lost the bronze medal match, so we took fourth. And then in Beijing, we win, and it literally, people ask me what did it feel like, and I'm like, there's also a great sense of validation, because you've put in so much work for so much time, and for you to finally reach a pinnacle or a place where you, even in the past, you never thought was even possible, but now you've done it, you feel like you've almost got this weight off your shoulders. And you hear athletes talk about it all the time, right? Even great athletes that never win championships, oftentimes you don't even hear about how they didn't win. I mean, how great they were as an athlete. You talk about how they never were able to win a championship. And so to be able to do that is something that obviously is pretty special and that you take with you, for much like what you talked about with world champs. Because, you know, we'd never done that before. And for you guys to win that is something that no one can ever take away. You guys are world champions. And so same kind of thing with the Olympics.
Yeah, I think that's something like like you said, every high level athlete strives for, just like that validation, that peace at the end of the tunnel. And we're all searching for that too. And I just think we're doing a lot of, we're changing the way we train, different system things. Like we look at it year to year, and I think the coaches are doing a good job of like where we're falling short a little bit. And those areas are being addressed, changes are being made. And so other than that, I don't know, man. I'm trying my best to connect and lead and do all this stuff. But I think we're all just at the end of the day, just searching for that, like validation, that peace at the end, just that pinnacle. Because like you said, even you describing it, I'm like, that's what I want. That's exactly what I want.
That's what everybody wants. So true.
But I don't know what that looks like.
I want to have some fun. Is it okay if we have some fun right now?
Yeah, sure. What are we doing?
Okay, I'm gonna. These are kind of meant to be like quick, like blurb answers. Just kind of what comes to mind first off the bat, and then we're gonna do some word association at the end. Okay, and that's just like really what's the first word that pops in your head when I say this particular word, right? Let's see here.
I'm nervous.
No, don't worry about it. It'll just be fun stuff. So I'll start you off with the easy one. Let's say I want you to name your all-time team. U.S. women's players, you got to pick your 7. All-time, it can be from any era, and everybody is at their peak. Like they're playing at their best level. Who do you have? Who are your starting 7?
Holy crap. Man, oh man. All right. We're going to go with – this is hard because I feel like history of all – like I haven't watched past like 2008. So I'm going to go
That's
2008 and up, put it there. Setters.
That's fine.
I'm going to go with Alicia Glass, setter.
Alicia Glass, setter.
Middle,
okay.
I'm going to go with Faluka.
Yeah. You can self-promote if you want. No injustice.
I'm going to put myself there, but only because I want to play with these people and not because I think I'm better than all these
just because you want to be on the team.
I want to play. I love these people. Outsides, I'm going to go with probably Logan and Jordan.
Logan, ooh, that would be a good combo.
It's a good combo. And I think for a bro, I'm going to go with Kayla Vanworth.
Mm-hmm. That's a good team right there. Ooh, man, that's a good team.
Solid team.
Okay.
Solid team. But I want to be on it too. So
yeah, of course. You want to be on the court for sure.
I want to play.
What's a trait that you most dislike about yourself?
I get lazy sometimes.
Oh, well, welcome to the club.
Just sometimes, and I get really distracted very easily, like very easily.
Okay. Yeah. What's a trait that you most dislike in others? Is anything like really bug you? For me, it's snoring. And I always feel really bad when I find out that I've snored, and I'm like, I get like mad at myself because I get so frustrated when people snore.
Snoring, that is so random. I guess I really dislike like picky eaters.
Oh.
And it's like, I don't know. Or people who won't eat things for like irrational reasons. Like, okay, if you're allergic, fine, whatever. If it upsets your stomach, fine.
Right.
But like, why won't you eat? I don't know. That bugs me. Bothers me.
Okay.
It makes me judge the person a little bit.
If you'd never gotten into volleyball, what would you be doing right now?
Basketball.
Basketball. Cool. Dream vacation. Where are you going?
What is that island? I always see pictures of the hotels over the water. I haven't been
Oh
there.
gosh, that's where I picked. I always pick Bora Bora because anywhere in the
Bora
South
Bora,
Pacific.
yeah,
So
yeah,
Bora
yeah.
Bora, Tahiti, Fiji. I don't know any of those
Yeah,
places.
just very I want to sleep above the water.
Yeah. That's totally my thing too. I want to wake up and then just immediately jump in and go like scuba diving or something.
Yeah.
Name a movie where you teared up.
Any dog movie.
Oh, any dog movie.
Any animal related movie, I will cry.
Okay,
like
couple
I
things.
actively avoid them now.
Did you watch Racing in the Rain? I'm butchering the name, not Racing in the Rain. Oh gosh, what's the name of that movie? I just saw it. Anyways, it was something about racing in the rain. Does that sound familiar at all?
I don't know, but I swear to you, like I actively avoid anything with dog movies now. So like
Okay.
I probably tried my best to stay away because I know like I'm a mess.
Okay, so do you watch Netflix like everybody nowadays?
Yes, of course.
Do not watch Afterlife. Have you heard about Afterlife?
No.
If you actively avoid dog shows, this show will tear you apart. It's Ricky Gervais, who started The Office.
Yeah.
So he's the star of this show.
Okay.
And I don't know. Anyways, I almost don't even want to tell you because you'll start tearing up here. So his dog is this like really beautiful German Shepherd, and the dog is a huge part of the show. Ricky's the star, and so Afterlife, stay away. But it's fantastic. The show is fantastic.
Myself, but I'm like, no, I can't. Like, I cannot watch it.
Yeah, this one will crush you. So you can thank me later if you ever see it. So
okay.
Okay, word associations here. You got first thing that comes to your mind when you hear these words. Let's see here. Let's see. How about grind?
Volleyball.
Food.
Pizza.
Ooh, that's a good one. Choke.
I think of like losing, like choking, like I don't know.
That's what I meant it for. So
okay.
How about the Olympics?
It's volleyball. I still think of volleyball. That's the first
volleyball
thing.
Again.
What a podium! Like I have a very clear
podium. Ooh,
podium.
That's a good
like
one.
Volleyball for sure.
Podium is a good one. How about taxes?
No.
No.
That's the first thing that comes to mind is no. Spreadsheets.
$1 million.
Why does my mind goes to VNL? Because we win VNL and we got $1 million check. Goes to that picture of that check.
I like that. How about knucklehead?
I don't know why my mind instantly went to Kelsey Robinson, but it did. So we're just gonna go with that.
I can't wait till she's on the show.
No, just talking about her.
How about genius?
Genius, Einstein. I don't know. I don't know.
Einstein. That's a good one. I like that. Happy place.
At home with my dogs.
Nice.
I was like, just on the couch.
Sweat.
Volleyball, workouts, conditioning, sprints specifically.
Yeah. Movie.
What?
Movie.
Movie theater. Going to a
movie theater. That makes me a little sad because nobody's been in a movie theater for quite a while now.
The first thing that comes to mind is just like sitting in a theater. Like me.
I like seeing movies in the theater. It's nice.
Yeah.
Greatest of all time.
My mind went to Michael Jordan, but I've been watching that documentary.
It's so good, isn't it?
It's so good. That's like, I think stuff that I'm saying is like very prevalent, like that I did yesterday, but I loved it.
Yeah, it's really good. Okay, last one. Let's see. Actually, we'll do two more because they're closely connected. How about Hugh?
I don't know. I think of the path at Minnesota. Like that's our gym, our home gym, just where we spend hours of my life.
And lastly, how about Karch?
I also think of like ASC, just
ASC.
Just ASC. like has a smell to it, you know. Like,
It does have a smell
walking
to
in
it.
the gym.
It's all those club tournaments during the weekend and all those teenagers just in there
Oh,
sweating the whole
really?
time.
Like, it's not like, I don't know. It just has a smell to it.
Yeah.
Just
It's a cool place,
familiarity.
though. It's a cool place to train. I always like playing there.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, everything's there. It's
yeah.
nice.
Yeah. All right. You passed the test. Tori Dixon.
Did I?
Congratulations. A+, like in our master's class.
Thank you. Yeah. Let's hope that A+ is keeping on.
Yeah, seriously. Thanks so much for being on the show. It was awesome talking to you. And
Yeah.
wish you
Thanks
all
for
the
having
luck
me.
getting ready for Tokyo. It's gonna be, I mean, it's gonna be awesome. You're gonna have a
Yeah,
great
I'm
time.
really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
thanks for
guys are
having
gonna
me.
be incredible. And thanks so much. We'll have to do it again
Yeah,
sometime.
for sure.